Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 15 Pro after a week. Now I used to do videos like after the hype, but I just started to label them 48 hours later or 72 hours later. And this phone right here definitely has got my attention. How do I use this device? So this is a follow-up video after a week. And so I'm not going to go in too far into detail on specs and things like that. I'm just going to talk about how I use it. So if you like a good discussion video, you're in the right place. This is a discussion video about the iPhone 15 Pro. Now you guys know that I initially started with the 15 Pro Max, and I had both of them here, and I had to make a decision, not for returns or anything, but just which one is going to be my primary iPhone. This was an easy decision for me because I'm now back with two phone numbers, and I activated service on my Pixel 8 Pro. And I'm carrying the Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro. It was a simple thing for me because this is a smaller device and I didn't want to carry two large devices 24/7. So how has it been using this? Well, I got to tell you, this is a social media age, and this is what we do nowadays. We look at a bunch of social media online. We participate in social media online. And it's just... You want to have the best experience with social media. And so iPhones to me are some of the best at doing social media. They tend to handle the applications better because I think a lot of developers, wow, they tend to lean more towards Apple, the Apple ecosystem. I don't know if they're getting paid more or, why they just give more support to Apple products. But this is how I technically use my device. I like to control my cars with it, and I do a lot of social media with it. But predominantly, I do a lot of phone calls with my device. That's something that a lot of people just don't do anymore, phone calls. I love doing phone calls with mine because I'm using the AirPod Pro 2nd generation. And they are phenomenal. But then when I'm not using that, this phone actually does very well. I'm using it on Visible. And my other Pixel 8 Pro is activated on US Mobile. They have $12 for unlimited everything. So I was like, I guess I'll just activate it there. But nonetheless, calls and everything, it's been great. Alongside all the social media I just talked about, calls for me are phenomenal. I haven't had any issues with network. I haven't had any overheating issues. I haven't had any issues that are out there. So if you're going to ask me, did you have any issues with this? No, I'm not having any issues. The phone is running flawlessly. So that's why it's easy for me to do a follow-up. I feel for the people that actually are having issues, but I'm not having any issues, and I'm really praying that I don't. I have Apple Care, so it really doesn't matter to me, to be honest. If something happens, if I lose it, it cracks, it breaks, I'll just get another one because that's why I bought the Apple Care for it. But if I'm being honest, this is more than just a social media phone for me, a phone I use for phone calls. And the reason I brought up phone calls and network is because of the size of this. Now, I have very large hands, but still, this is a big phone, folks. It may seem small, but this phone still has a 6.1-inch display, and then you have to compensate for the body. And so that's something that you should take note of. But this is more than just a social media toy-like phone for me. No. This is a phone that I create with. I like to use the products. Like I just told you, I'm using the Pixel 8 Pro. I wanted to put it on the chopping block and get some coverage with it. So I'm going to be using it for my car channel as well. But I've been using this phone for my car channel, shooting a lot of HDR content. And I can't wait to show you the content from the Pixel 8 Pro on my car channel if you're already there. But judging by this content right here, I think you already know that the Pixel 8 Pro is a very solid phone for video footage. We'll get into that in another story, but just remember, this video right here that you're watching is recorded with the Pixel 8 Pro. So the iPhone is definitely a phone that is packing a lot when it comes to a consumer's value. Let me say it like this. This is a lot of phone, even though none of us will really ever probably stretch it all the way to the limits and get everything out of it for the money. But this is a very nice phone. I mean, we're talking about a Super Retina XDR OLED display, 120 Hertz, HDR10 Dolby Vision, 2000 nits peak brightness. And the typical brightness is about 1000. That is a lot. 461 pixels per inch. Everything is there. The ceramic shield glass and everything. Even though I have a tempered glass on here, you've got options that are there. that you can't see sometimes, but are very useful. Now, for me, you're looking at the back of the phone a lot because these cameras right here are really taking care of me. These are probably the best video cameras I have in the house. But slowly but surely, Google has crept up on it. And I think this video right now is proving that Google's video is getting better. I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm excited about the Pixel. But these phones right here have shot so much footage for me. It's incredible. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up something real briefly here. Hold on just a second. So this is something I just shot in the backyard. I've been doing some promo videos with the Pixels, and I shot this with the Obsidian, and also did one for this for the blue one, the Bay version as well. But this footage right here, shot in HDR, you can see it's HDR right there. It is just phenomenal. I didn't do any talking or anything like that, but I just wanted to showcase the device. This is a short that I'll be releasing at some point on the channel next week or something. This is just a phenomenal set of cameras. And I'm going to show you the blue version of this. When I did, look at all these photos I've been taking and stuff though. I did the unboxing. As a matter of fact, here is the unboxing of this device right here, done by the iPhone 15 Pro. And there's video of the blue. Now take a listen to this. I'm sending that gift over, but I pulled the trigger on an Obsidian. And this is probably the Bay is actually a really beautiful color. I mean, you just can't beat this type of quality, man. This is freaking just beautiful. The screen on this thing is great, and I've done a lot of different content with this phone, but I tend to delete it afterwards. So I move it off and I delete it. I don't need to keep a whole bunch of content on my device. I delete it afterwards. So, but there's a lot that I like about this particular phone. You can see the photos that I took. These photos were taken with these cameras. Like if you see like posting online, they were taken with this camera. I was outside walking, and this photo right here was taken with this camera. Look at how beautiful that is. That's a beautiful portrait shot. Apple has done, and this is where this phone has become important to me, because it's small and it's powerful, and that's something I want to talk about. If I can remember to talk about it versus the Max, we'll talk about that. But this is stuff that I've shot with the phone, man. I mean, here's the one that I did of the blue version. Just same thing, just stood in the backyard in the patio and shot the content. Folks, this is what you call ready for whatever. I like the fact that I'm just always ready for whatever. This phone can go in my pocket and then pull out and shoot better than some of my mirrorless cameras, depending on the situation, or my DSLRs. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This is, I think, why a lot of people might gravitate towards using an iPhone, depending on who you are. If you like good photos and videos, the 15 has upped itself and in the best way. This 15 Pro has proven to me that it is definitely worthy to be in the top 3 of phones that I have for just kind of a complete package. I'm telling you, that's speaking volumes for me, because I don't really like iPhones like that. But like to label it that far on the scale, I don't normally do that. But this one is impressive for another reason, outside of the ability of the software and the way it handles social media and great phone calls and connectivity. Everything is there. But the hardware, the small tweaks that they made, I'm feeling it now. Like, so I did a 48-hour follow-up, I believe. And, you know, that initial hype is gone. This phone just goes in and out of my pocket like anything else, and it's just a phone to me. But I like to follow up with a real world experience, not as a reviewer per se, but just as some dude using the phone. And this is a phenomenal pickup. Now, the hardware tweaks that they made by sloping it off just a little bit all around on the front and the back, and then titanium, and then giving it a brush look on all of the models. This is just a solid piece of hardware. You're going to say, well, Jay, it looks just like the other one. Well, you're right. It does look like the other one, but it doesn't feel like the other models. This, in fact, feels completely different than my 14 and 13. It just does. This feels much better in the hand, whether it's this small version or the big one, because I bought them both. They both feel completely different. That was the first thing I noticed getting them out of the box. Like, wow, this is a lot more lightweight, and they both feel great. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the battery life here, because the battery life on this thing has been phenomenal to me. It's been great. I've been really enjoying how long this phone can last on a charge. So a lot of people judge their devices by the screen on time. I personally don't, because this device gets a lot of screen on time, but it also lasts over 24 hours. It goes well over 24 hours. And I was talking about the battery on the Pixel 8 Pro after 24 hours, and it got really good battery life. Standby time has always been something that Apple has mastered, but I think Google is on the right track now. I think they're doing things. We'll talk about that in another video, but nonetheless, all iPhones pretty much can do phenomenal standby time. Now, my iPhone came default with optimizations turned on. It was limited to 80%. Like, I don't know why it was set that way when it came out of the box, but let me know if yours was set this way out of the box. But I turned it off. Shout out to the Hawks TV. Tara, she hooked me up and said, "Hey Jay, go into your settings, and it'll charge past 80%, and it'll go to 100%." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." So after doing that, after my initial 24 hours, I've never charged this thing to 80. I just charged to 100, and I bought a new docking station. So pretty much this phone goes on the docking station, and at night it charges to 100. I get it the next day. And it goes on through. Now, that's if it needs to be charged, but most of the time I'm getting some really decent battery life, like really good. I've only had this phone run down to about 15%, and that was the other night. I was out riding in the vet, and I just lost track of time, and I was like, oh, my car said, hey, your phone battery is low, and I was like, oh shoot, okay, let me head back to the house. I got 20%. And I could have put it in battery saving mode, or I could just put it on the charger in my car, but I just like to charge at home and pick up another device. I don't like to mess with it when it's charging. And I think you'll be, as I spoke of in the first video of this, the 40-hour update on this one, a week later, I think you'll be impressed with the battery. It takes about a week or two, sometimes a month, for a battery to really hone in on the apps you're using the most and things like that, and how you're using it, that behavior. And I think this phone is no exception. I think after a while, this will probably get even better on battery life. But I don't know that any other battery life I've ever experienced was better than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. That is got to be some of the best battery ever. But nonetheless, you'll be impressed with the battery. You'll be impressed with the cameras. You'll be impressed with the software. You'll be impressed with the hardware if you're coming from another iPhone. It feels much better. And I think one of the few downsides of this device is probably always going to be price. You're going to have to explain to me, is how I see it. You're going to have to explain to me why you're charging over $400 for some of these devices. Now, some of the devices cost about $400 or $500 to make, probably, but then charging, now, okay, I know someone's going to say, well, Jay, they got to pay the marketing team, they got to pay the employees, I get it. I just think that, once we get past a certain price point, I don't think anybody is getting their money's worth. That's kind of how I feel about that. Even me as a creator pushing these cameras, and because they tout these phones, Apple shows these phones as being able to shoot movies on them and stuff, and so I'm using them for video like crazy. I think being able to just shoot the content, the way with these devices it's just been phenomenal. Now, I want to applaud Apple in one area before I get out of here, and that is going to be that Apple is one of the few companies that actually makes a small version of the big version. I don't know any other company that technically does it the way Apple does it when it comes to making their larger version and smaller version. There's only a couple of differences, I would say. Probably the battery, the screen size, because the resolution is pretty much all the same. But on the 15-inch, the 15 models, the Pro and Pro Max, the Pro Max has the extended lens to zoom. That is something that I don't really care about. I use it, and I'm like, okay, well, it's impressive on the 15 Pro Max, but only thing I've done was, zoom in on a few things, take some photos, and that's it. Haven't turned it back on since. So using this every day is not very difficult at all. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. So I think in the end, folks, this is a week follow-up, a week discussion with the iPhone 15 Pro. In a 2 weeks or a month, I'll probably be singing the same song because I'm obviously not going to get rid of the devices. So, and it's my daily driver, one of them. So I'm excited about it. But after a while, this just becomes a phone to me, and there's no more review for me. It's just me following up, letting you know, hey, this is how I feel about it at this point. This is how I feel about it at this point. And like I said, I'm happy that Apple makes a small version of their most powerful device. This has the A17 Pro inside as well. 4K 60, 1080p 240, 10-bit HDR, Dolby Vision HDR up to 60 frames per second, ProRes, cinematic mode, 4K 30, 3D spatial video, stereo recording sound. The win for me is this right here. Turning it on, hitting ProRes if I want to, or shooting like this 4K 60 HDR. This is my favorite setting. Love it. So there it is, man. The iPhone. You hear my stomach growling? Wow. The iPhone. It's ready to go. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you want a solid iPhone and you got a little bit of bread to spend and you want a pro model, you're going to do a lot of video recording. Now, granted, you can do video recording with the other models, but I don't know. I just like to shoot for the fence, I guess, sometimes. The most powerful one and the smallest package is the way I like to roll. There are some differences between this and the 15, like the display port. The USB Type-C is going to be 3.2 on this one, Gen 2, versus I think, a 2.1 on the other versions for the 15, because they have the Type-C now. So you'll get the slower transfer speeds, but I don't think you can just airdrop something if you wanted to, or just edit right on the devices and go, because I've definitely done that before. So it's your man Jay. I'm going to take my growling stomach and go to bed, because definitely not going to eat anything. I'm drinking some water. You know, your parents would be like, you ain't hungry, drink some water, go to bed. If you're old enough, you remember that. But yeah, man, I'm about to get out of here. The iPhone 15 Pro is amazing. I love it still, and I will be taking video footage and photos versus some other phones soon, so be on the lookout for that. But how did the Pixel 8 Pro in Bay, how did the Bay do? It doesn't matter what color it is, but how did the Pixel 8 Pro do? I think it probably did fairly well. It's your man Jay. Drop test. Like Apple Care, though. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.